In this series on the churches at Jerusalem and Antioch, beloved, we have seen how Antioch became Jerusalem's daughter church. It was not through Jerusalem sending official missionaries to Antioch. It was not even through any plan of the Jerusalem consistory at all. Instead, the church at Antioch was started through the persecution and scattering of the believers of the church at Jerusalem. The scattering took some of them as far north as Antioch. These believers, scattered from their home, witnessed also at Antioch. And some of these believers, particularly the ones from Cyprus and Cyrene, who used to be in Jerusalem and were now scattered as far north as Antioch, began to witness to the Hellenists, that is, those of Greek language and culture, whether they were Jews or Gentiles. Not only did they speak to the Jews, not only to the Samaritans, who were halfway between the Jews and the pagans, not only to the proselytes, who were Gentiles who had become Jews through circumcision, but now directly to the Gentiles. And then, through these energetic, godly, persecuted, witnessing believers, with this church in Antioch having been started, the church in Jerusalem now officially sends one of their leading men, Barnabas, north to that great city, the third city in the Roman Empire. Barnabas encouraged them through their preaching so that they persevered in the faith of Jesus Christ and cleaved to the Lord. So I say again, this is how Antioch became Jerusalem's daughter church. First of all, the faithful witnessing of persecuted, scattered Jerusalem saints, particularly those of a larger vision, faith spreading out to the Gentiles, and then added to that, the visit and exhortation of Barnabas as Jerusalem's emissary. Now, as I explained in the first sermon in this series, our mission field in Limerick arose in God's good providence and grace through somewhat different circumstances. And indeed, the story of each mission work and each church is always somewhat different. And last Sunday night, we saw that the relationship between the churches in Jerusalem and Antioch was not merely one of dependency. With the church at Antioch dependent on Jerusalem, its mother's church, never mind a total dependency, such that Antioch was dependent upon Jerusalem for all things, dependent for finance, dependent for its ministers, dependent for its encouragement. It wasn't like that. Jerusalem and Antioch had a mutually beneficial relationship. Jerusalem helped Antioch through teaching with Barnabas, sent by Jerusalem, and Paul, whom Barnabas enlisted to help. And then we saw the visitation and prediction of Agabus, a prophet from Jerusalem, who came with other prophets. So on the one hand, Jerusalem helped Antioch, but Antioch, on the other hand, also helped Jerusalem. They collected an offering, which I would imagine to have been a very generous offering to help the poor saints in Jerusalem. And this is surprising because it's not often that a young church helps an older church like this. Never mind a young daughter church, such as Antioch was, helping its older mother church and helping the older mother church financially. That's unusual. And of course, the application is obvious in that these are just some of the ways we trust that the CPRC here in Northern Ireland and the Limerick Reformed Fellowship in the Republic may be of mutual benefit and help to each other by the grace and will of God. This has already happened between us in the past, and we trust there will be yet more of this mutual benefit in the future. And in the Scriptures, we often see how two of anything, are better than one. The classic passage here is Ecclesiastes 4. Two are better than one, says the preacher, because they have a good reward for their labour. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. Again, if two lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? And if one prevail against him, two shall withstand him. So now we have two of us in the island of Ireland, our church in the fellowship in Limerick, and we have two ministers. Now this evening, we want to consider a third important factor about the relationship between the church at Jerusalem and the church at Antioch. Not only, first, was Antioch the daughter of Jerusalem, and not only did the two churches, secondly, have a mutually beneficial relationship, but now we go a stage further, noting that these two churches had different callings. I don't mean that the two churches had two different Bibles, and that the Bible possessed by the church in Antioch had different commands from the Bible in the church at Jerusalem. They had the same Bible, giving them the same commands from God. What I do mean, though, is that in God's grace, Jerusalem and Antioch had different roles in the advancement of the kingdom of God. And this is easy to grasp, and almost necessarily follows if you think, first of all, of the difference in the age of these two churches. Jerusalem is older. Antioch is a much younger church, started through Jerusalem, as we said. These two churches are in two different places. Jerusalem is the start and centre of the expanding New Testament church. It all began there and radiated from there. Antioch is at the frontier with the pagan world. And if you think too of the composition or makeup of the congregations, you'll see it as well. Jerusalem is exclusively or almost exclusively Jewish. That makes a difference. And the congregation at Antioch is mostly Gentile. So it was that God led these two different churches in slightly different ways, and Satan attacked these two different churches in different ways, and through this, Jerusalem and Antioch manifested the grace of God in different ways.